Hey, what's up? Dilio coming to you live again. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I like to make my drums hit hard on the MPC software in the box. And this video is going to basically show you how things can be mixed in the box and the options that you can have when you want to take it out of the box and hook it up another way. So you definitely got some options there for however you want to do it. I typically will work in the box because it's just convenient. Give you a little bit of background. So, when I was making these tracks, back when I was first started making music, it was on a computer because I couldn't get a hold of an MPC or anything like that. So what I did was I definitely learned how to make things work inside, and then learned how to dump them into Pro Tools or Cakewalk, track things out so I could have control of the mix to create that range between what you want it to be out in the front of the mix versus what you want to have softer in the mix. And having that relationship between the sounds definitely gives you a lot of power to mix it. So let's talk a little bit about the mixing window and kind of show you how I do it. This will kind of illustrate to you how this is done. So let's break this down. So you see a bunch of faders and things like this. So typically when I'm making tracks on the MPC, I'll start with the drums first. I typically don't touch my programs till like late in making it a track. So as you see, I got the 808 kit here. You can hear it. And each one of those 16 pads all the way up to group H, each one of these pads has their own fader. They have their own fader. They have their own pan. If you look up here, they have their own inserts that you can put on each pad inside of the program. And then you can output to whatever you want. So you can mix your drums here. So I typically would mix this way with my drums. And then these pads go to this program over here. And then this program goes to my main out. Same thing with effects. The effects get sent out 1 through 4, either at the pad level or the program level. You can even click on the MIDI tracks and you can adjust the volume to what's going on the MIDI track and adjust the volume level of that MIDI data going to things. And that actually affects your mix too, because you're changing the volume level there from a MIDI perspective. And so once again, I always kind of do things kind of in the box because it's just been the most convenient way for me. Now here's a different kind of way you can do it. So if you want to do it what I call like the old school way, or the way it was done before that, you can actually take these drum samples that you got and you can assign them to outputs on the device. So in the case of the modern MPCs, as I call it, I'm calling them modern MPCs. That's MPC Live and X going up. In that situation, like the MPC X has like 8 outputs on it, the MPC Live gives you 6. So if I wanted to use those external outputs, I could hook them up to a mixer, right? And then in that mixer will be hooked up to, say, a digital or tape recorder that gave you a ton of tracks that you record individually, but you can also mix individually. But in my eyes, I think that every mixer has a bunch of faders. Well, we have a bunch of faders here. Now, I'll be the first to say, yeah, I like having physical faders to work with. And if I wanted to go through the process, I could probably get a MIDI controller or something with some faders on it and assign it to that and set up a template. I don't really feel like doing that. But just in case, as you can see, I can go on the controller and adjust that volume there. But like, say for instance, if I wanted like the kick drum to go out of output 1, I can go to mono output and select output 1 on the hardware device, and it'll go out output 1 of that track. Or if I wanted to go to the program that pad is in, it goes there. Or maybe I wanted to go to a submix. You can send your sound to a submix. You get like 8 submixes, 8 stereo submixes, 8 stereo outputs. So there's a lot of routing that you can do in there. So you have options to either do it in the box or hook it up to whatever mixer that you want to. So in a nutshell, what I like to do is, because of my relationship of the levels of the drums inside of the program is done here at this level, I pretty much get the mix where I want, and I can still export those separate tracks by exploding and getting them onto the DAW that way. Because at that point, once everything's done and the programs, oops, I lost my window, but at the programs level, I can click on that And we just got one program right now, or two programs here, a blank program and then the Dilly 808 kit. You can change the mixes of those, right? And those programs will be mixed however you want, and then you can do the same thing on there. So you have a lot of options there. But as I understand it, the older school way of doing it, which probably be fun. And if you want me to just demonstrate that, let me know, because I do have a 32 channel mixer I could hook up to like an MPC 6 and then do separate outs on there. And and I think it would be fun. I think it's probably more fun because like when you really have a lot of gear, like it's cool to have your faders on screen and stuff like that, but I think it's just more engaging. But here's the trade-off, in my opinion. The trade-off is that when you have, a lot of this gear going into the system. So say for example, you go from your MPC to a mixer, right? You get the mix tight on that mixer. So then now you got to think, okay, well, how do I get this to tape? Well, you can set up a stereo recorder to it, or you could set up direct outs to go to an audio interface. Like this is 8 inputs of digital audio interface right here, right? So I could go 8 outs into that, then track it into Pro Tools Studio One. I'm biased Studio One, Pro Tools, okay, whatever. Get the tracks in there. Then you can normalize and mix there, and then have those same digital tracks come out of SSL board individually. And it's probably more engaging, but it's a longer factor because you got to sit there and play that song for the whole 5-6 minutes of the track. Whereas if you mix it already there, you can just export it in like a minute or so with everything separated, and then take your time to mix in the DAW. But there's so many ways and options to do this. So, and I think it's cool to explore the options if you're able to. But if you don't have a mixer and you don't have, a 8-channel or 10-channel audio interface with all those inputs on it, those can be pricey. And then on top of that, having a large mixer to mix everything, that's a cool option. But at the same time, it also can be more engaging, and you feel like you're more in control with that. But the trade-off is that there's more gear and more logistics you got to go through to get that to talk and to record and get it on tape. But you do get a different result. So typically what I do mostly is I do it in the box because I can track everything out, export it, get it into my favorite DAW, record the song, and I'm done. But if there's ever a need to do it another way and have everything separated and tracked out in tape and kind of mix it that way, I could see myself doing that. Like say if I rented like the A room or a B room and I wanted that experience of being more tactile, I wanted to feel like I'm more hands-on in control, I could do it that way. But I feel pretty good about the mixes I do when I really take my time doing it in the box. It's sort of a skill set that I developed. But I also have experience doing live sound too as well, and studio sound. So I've worked in large houses where they got 4,000, 5,000 people, and I'm mixing that mixing board and I'm getting that sound just right live. And in a live situation, you get it right once. You can't go back and track it over. So you got to get it fixed and running right there on the spot. So that's a little bit of a different thing. But in a nutshell, that's how I do it on there. And if you want me to maybe hook up the mixer and do it the old school way and kind of demonstrate that, play around with that, I got some hand-me-down equipment here that I could hook up and, maybe experiment with it and see what the experience is like. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments, in the likes, and just give me that feedback, and I'll see if I can dust some stuff off and maybe find myself some cables and hook it up, and we can do kind of a hardware throwback style, get the mode hooked up with the MPC on separate tracks and play with that and hear how it sounds and talk about that experience and how it's different than just doing everything in the box. I think both are great options to get your music done. And I think it's best to just be able to do it either way. And if you know how to do it in the box, learn how to do it with a mixer. And if you're only done with the mixer, learn how to mix in the box. All right. I'm Dilio. I'm out.